Okay, so I'm back, and I'm going to talk first about the discussion forum. I just wanted to say I'm really happy with all of you that have been contributing. It's really taking on a life of its own, and I haven't been able to keep up with reading everyone's posts, but I am reading all of them. I may not comment on all of them because I like being able to give its own life, and that students are owning it and really responding to the content. So it feels like it feels like some of this content is coming to you at the right time in your lives because you have so much to say about it, and that you might have had these thoughts about creativity for a while, and now it's kind of coming out and taking on this new life. So it's awesome. All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit about books. Because, like I said, I want to give you a bunch of resources to take with you when this class is over and we say goodbye. So this is possibly the best book I've come across on drawing. It's 2 million copies sold, translated into 17 languages, 4th edition. So this is another book that I'm going through, and a lot of the stuff that is in here in both of these books is stuff that I've picked up through trial and error, but it's only through reading them and trying to regurgitate them in a class setting. Some of the content is, by going through it, I'm starting to become more aware of it intellectually as opposed to intuitively, if that makes any sense. So it's good for me. Okay, so we're going to do this drawing exercise based on some of the lessons in this book. And according to Dr. Betty Edwards, anyone can draw. So she talks about the left and the right hemisphere of the brain. So there's this little graphic here. Don't know if you can see that. The left brain controls the right side of the body. The right brain controls the left side of the body. And she says that for roughly 200 years, scientists have known that the two hemispheres are responsible for not only the different halves of the body, but they're responsible for different types of brain activity. And the left one has been the more privileged because they realize that it is responsible for a lot of logical decision making and speech and language, which are really important things. It's good for math, so it can understand A plus B equals C, and it can understand steps to do a task from start to finish. And how they figured that out is that is the result of a lot of brain injuries. So people who had an injury on the left side were more likely to have their speech impacted than an injury on the right side. Makes sense, right? Okay. That being said, according to her, the right brain, during these past 2 centuries of research, was understudied and underprivileged, and it was considered like the dumb side, and people didn't really know what it did. But there was a research done by Nobel Prize winner, who was it? I don't know. Doesn't matter. There was research done in the 60s that revealed that the right side of the brain is responsible for spatial awareness. It's responsible for intuition. It's responsible for putting things together, which does sound kind of logical, but like, let's say you've collected a whole bunch of information and then your brain is kind of processing it in the background like a software program, and then suddenly you realize the answer because things kind of gel together. Supposedly that's the right side of the brain working on problem solving. Okay, and she says that the right side of the brain is particularly good at drawing, because if you imagine this scene and you had to draw these things based on the shapes and the lines and how they all fit together, that's what the right brain is good at. So a lot of her exercises are designed around trying to activate the right side of the brain and push down the functions of, or discourage the functions of the left side of the brain, which is not as good at that. Okay? So I'm going to pause this, pause the video while I set up to do this exercise, and I'll see you in a second. Okay, so this is my workstation, which I did not have a year ago because I've significantly upgraded my home studio due to COVID, and so that's kind of a good thing. And hopefully you're benefiting from it. Okay, in Blackboard, you will see files underneath in week 2.2 where you can download these three things. This and this and that. This one you don't need, but I have it here just for demonstration purposes. This is obviously it's a very well-known optical illusion where you have either two faces or a vase, and this is kind of a good opportunity for me to just share a few more art terms. And so when you hear me throwing out these terms, then you know what I'm talking about. In image analysis, when you have an object against a background, it's sometimes referred to as a figure, even though it's not a figure of a person. But because it's an object against a background, let's say we're talking about the vase and not the people. It's object, and then there's a space around it or a space that it's sitting on. So that's called the figure-ground relationship. Okay. Also, that object is considered positive space, and then the space around it, the void or the background, is called negative space, and this edge is called the contour. So the object and the negative space around it, they share this edge called the contour. Okay, and there is an exercise after this that's called the blind contour, where you have to draw that edge without looking. Okay. Is there any other terminology I want to throw at you right now? No. Okay. I do want to say, though, that the brain, for a lot of people, have difficulty seeing this as a vase and two people at the same time because it's this perceptual shift. And that's not bad. And it's not like meaning that somebody's untalented. It's just because the brain struggles to see two different objects at the same time, like this as a background and as an object. So, and I think I'm the same. So I have to keep flipping my brain to seeing this as an object or those as objects. Okay. So if you have a printer, then and you are right-handed, then download this one. Or you could just draw it from your screen. You know, it would just be fine for you to download as a digital file and draw it from your screen. But if you have if you are left-handed, then I want you to work from this one. Okay. So I happen to be right-handed, and you can use a ruler. That's my pencil. This, if anybody is curious, this is called an architectural lead holder, and it's a really nice pencil. It costs like $12, but I love it. It's kind of like a really giant mechanical pencil, and you can switch out the leads. This one's a 2H, so that's good for very light sketching. And there's a sharpener in the back, so if you can put your lead into the back like this, and it actually sharpens it, but you have to work it for a while. And then you tap all the little bits out. Okay. So I'm gonna grab a sheet of paper, and we're gonna do this exercise together. Okay. Draw top line. You know what? For you to be able to see this better, I'm going to pick something darker. A pencil kit is not included in the kit that I gave you. You just, there's a, but I'm pretty sure I noted that you could have a tackle box, like a fishing tackle box or a toolbox. Art supply stores will have different kinds of boxes. This one's pretty good. I'm not a huge fan of it, but I have so many pens and pencils and markers that you have to have something like this. So the Staedtler ones are pretty good. I'm just gonna, yeah, that's certainly dark enough. Okay. So I'm going to Is that dark enough that you can see it? Yes, it is. Okay, and the one on the bottom. And this does not have to be the exact same length as this. We're not trying to recreate it exactly. It's just an exercise. Even this I haven't measured to be exactly the same width as that. What you're gonna do is you're gonna start from here, and then looking here and cross-referencing here, you're going to try to draw that same profile of the face or the vase, whichever. And as you go around, you're going to try to name all these things. So, forehead, nose, top lip, bottom lip, that indentation, which I never know what the name is, but there are names for parts of the face that people don't use. And then chin and neck, okay? So I'm just going to do that right now. And it's a little bit awkward because I have to do this while standing, but I think I can do it. There, that looks a little bit nicer. Okay. Go slow. So forehead. Go slow so that you're trying to follow that line as accurately as possible. Oh yeah, so I was concentrating too much, but you want to go forehead, bridge of the nose, tip of the nose, and say this out loud. Upper lip, bottom lip, chin, Okay. Now, this is the trick. Now, try to do this where you do the exact opposite of that shape. So you're going to do that side. Or if you started with that one, then you obviously with your left hand, you do this side. Okay? And you try to name those things as you go along. Forehead, bridge of the nose, nose, upper lip, lower lip, chin, neck. Okay. Now, ideally, I want you to do that without watching my video. You watch me do it once, and then you get the picture, and then you try to do that, and then the other one. And the important part of the process is you name those things, and then you try to do the mirror image on this side, or vice versa. Okay, so pause the video right now, and go do that, and then come back to me and watch the rest of this. Okay, it's 16:42 is the time that you would have to restart the video. Okay, did you do it? All right. So I don't know about your experience, but like I didn't have a lot of problems doing this, but I kind of already knew what to expect. According to Dr. Betty Edwards, in the exercise, when people are trying to draw the mirror side, they get confused. And because they're trying to copy this, so they start trying to go this way, they start making one that looks like that. Or they just get confused because they're trying to name those things while moving the pen and copying this but reflecting it. So it's kind of it's deceptively simple looking. And so I don't know how many people found that challenging. I would be really curious to know, and there's no judgment. It doesn't mean you did it wrong. It just means we're highlighting a way how our brains get confused because you're trying to get your left and your right brain to do different things, and then there's this conflict. So let me know if your brain started to tell you to draw the profile the wrong way. I'm really curious to know. So post a photo of your version in the comments. It's okay if you got it wrong, because there's no wrong. But yeah, let me know what happened when you did that. Okay, so that's that exercise, and that only took like 2 minutes, right? So okay. Oh yeah, so as far as the comments go, if we're just learning a technical exercise, then when we're replying to other people's posts, there isn't as much to say about it as an artwork. Like if I had something that was more conceptually based, then students could say, oh, you had a really cool idea, what inspired this, or I get this emotional feeling from it. But when we're doing a technical exercise like this, more than likely everyone's is going to look pretty similar. Some people might have it kind of crooked, and that's totally fine. I'm actually kind of interested to see how they the range of how they turned out. But with a technical exercise, you could make the comments discussing what you got out of it or what it felt like to try to draw this while flipping it in your minds and while naming things. So according to the book, she says that because the left brain is in charge of naming these things, but then the right brain is in charge of trying to take that shape, which is semi-representational and semi-abstract, and flip it, that your brain gets confused and you start losing control of what your hand is doing because it's getting mixed messages. So that's the point of that exercise, is just understanding how the brain different halves of the brain can get dysfunctional. But also, it's a great exercise in just really careful observation. Like, you can see I didn't do it perfectly. Like, this is like a little bit sharp and that's not exactly the same. That's fine. I'm glad it wasn't perfect because I don't want students to think that was the point, because it's not, okay? I'm going to stop it there. Go do that and post a photo of yours and share your thoughts of what you got out of this, and then I'm going to start the next exercise. And please get this done as early as possible so that you're not leaving it until Sunday, because my goal is for everybody to level up their drawing skills significantly. So whatever free time you have, whatever time you can devote to learning these things, please make the time for these and as much as possible, so that 6 weeks from now we're all like really amazed by how far we got in the best possible scenario. Okay,